Hello, students. Today I want to talk to you about getting help when you're working on your Linux system. So, whether you're an inexperienced user or a seasoned veteran, there's just no way that you're going to remember every option to every command out there. Uh, and you're going to need to consult some type of help documentation regularly, probably. And uh, even if you have a great memory, there's just no way you remember everything because there's just too much to remember. The things that you use over and over and over again, well, they'll become old hat, but there's always new things. So because the Linux system bases its um, architecture off of Unix, uh, there are numerous resources that are likened to those on the Unix system. And one of those is the ManPage system. There's also something that is an offering from GNU, GNU. So you remember the GPL, that was the new public license. Well, new GNU also has the InfoPage system. We'll talk about that. And there's also a help option for just about every command line command that you could come across. So in this section or module on the Cisco Networking Academy courseware, there is an objective. So, and that is that you will be able to use the command line to get help. All right. So we will learn how to use the various facilities, the man, the info system, and the help option to commands so that you can be productive on your Linux system. So you need to know how to find these various help facilities. You need to be able to know how to research once you've found a particular manual page for a command. So there's a certain layout or format to a man page. And then once you become familiar with that, it'll be a lot easier to navigate through the manual system. So let's first take a look at the man pages. Unix, as I mentioned, is the operating system that has become the model for Linux. And the developers of Unix at Bell Laboratories created various pages or documents for each and every command that he or she developed. And the formatting of those pages sort of became standardized with various sections in the page. Not every command has every section, but the order of the sections is pretty standardized. So we'll look at those. And just the whole set of these documents have become known as man pages. So man pages are really the go-to place when you want to know, the core about using a specific command in Linux or Unix. You want to know the basic, we call synopsis of the command. What options can I add to this command? What arguments are allowed or not allowed? What is the basic usage of the command? And that's what we're going to find out in the ManPage. So I believe I've used man for you on previous occasions. It's pretty straightforward. You just use that keyword man, a space, followed by whatever command it is that you are interested in finding more about. So let us actually look at our virtualized system here, and we'll pick a command. Man, let's pick CD. Well, I picked a bad command, didn't I not? We'll get to the info system. We'll use that command for that. So let's look at ls, because we've been using that a lot. And we see that the structure of the ManPage seems to have in the center a title for that section. This is user commands. So basically, you're a user, I'm a user. So at the command line, almost everything that you're typing in to tell the system you want to do something is a user command. User commands happen to be in section 1 of the ManPage, and that is indicated to us by the number inside parentheses, both in the upper left and upper right of the ManPage. Every ManPage is going to have a name section, and the name just reiterates again the command that we've put in with a very, very, very short description. So ls lists directory contents. We knew that already. The synopsis section gives us the really quick architecture or structure of the command. So this is how you're going to use this command. And it's ls, and you can provide options, which I'll show you. And because they're in this square brackets, that means they're optional. Okay, so anything inside hard square brackets, you do not have to provide, you just can if you need that feature. ... also known as ellipses, means that whatever was previous to that can be repeated over and over again. So we can use more than one option after ls. And then that is followed by file names. And again, that was in hard brackets, so it's optional. I'll be using the ls command in just a minute so that you can see what I mean. So the description tells us that ls lists information about files in the current directory by default and sorts entries alphabetically if we have not given any special options to indicate otherwise. And then we have information about the options. Now, the first -A is usually the type or the method that most use because it's shorter. Okay, the -- is called the POSIX, or the standard way to indicate options. And there are a few conditions where that is the only way that you can refer to the option. But in most cases, we're going to just stick with the ones that we're going to need will have the short nomenclature. To flip through from one page to the next in the manual page, you can use the space bar. We can see that it indicates that we can press H for help or Q to quit. But I'm going to just hit the space bar right now to move on to the next block of items. And we can see, like here for dash dash color, there was not a single letter option. So in that case, you do have to use the double dash. Most of these others have just a single dash and then a character. I'm going to move down through because I believe we've already used ls space dash L. So we'll move down through our listings till we get to that part of the alphabet. And we can see at the bottom of the page now, dash L tells us to use a long listing format. And we have done that. So we can go down and you can see there are so many options that you never can memorize them all. But the ManPage is the go-to place. So you don't have to memorize it all. You can refer to the ManPage. I'm going to hit Q to quit, and then I'll do ls. And remember, all the arguments were optional, so I can just use ls all by itself. It did not require arguments or files. I can, though, provide the dash L argument, gave me all the long listing for everything in that current directory. Or I'm going to clear the page. I could have said ls dash L. I think I had. Okay, so let's try again. I could use the argument and a file, and then I get the long listing for just that specific file. So we found out from that ManPage listing some of the various ways that we could approach and look at the ManPage. ManPages are also broken into sections. We gave that a brief look. Let's talk about that some more. Each section is designed to provide a certain type of information about the command. We saw, when we looked at the ManPage for ls, the name and synopsis section. So I will now move on and mention description. Almost every command that you're ever going to do a man listing for will have a description. And then also options. Those list all the arguments or parameters or options for the command, as well as a description of how those options are used. ManPage may have a section called files to provide some more detail. And it may also have an information section for the author so that you possibly can find out about who created that particular man page. And sometimes there's even information on how you can contact that person if you really want to give some feedback or maybe some kudos to that particular person. Some man page sections have a bug reporting section that provides details on how to actually report problems with the command. And there's usually a copyright portion so that you can find out whether it's under the new public license and which version of that license the command may abide by. Often there's a See Also section, which will point you to additional resources that you can use to find out more about the command. You can, of course, page through the man page by using the space bar to go from page to page. Also, it's good to know that you can search for a specific term within the man page by using the forward slash and then some keyword term. So let's give that a go. So let's go back to man ls, and I'm going to use the forward slash and find out about long listing. Mandatory arguments to long options are mandatory for short options too. That relates to the dash options and the dash dash. That's not exactly what I was looking for. So I can hit the forward slash again, and the system will jump forward to the next occurrence of the word long. And I can just keep doing that until, this was what I was looking for, -L to use a long listing format. So no matter what your keyword might have been, there are ways to hop ahead in the file till you find what you're looking for, or maybe, this wasn't really the right command, and you can try again, later. A really great way to understand about the man page system is look at the man page for man itself. So don't be shaken by the synopsis section for this particular command, because we don't have to absorb this all at once. And in fact, the synopsis section has really multiple lines for different ways that we can use this command. Man-K is an interesting one. Now that's a small letter K, which is distinguished from the capital K. Everything in Linux is case sensitive. And also man-F will be interesting to us. So we'll look at both of those as we move along. So let's hit the space bar, move ahead, and I really want you to pay attention to this part, because the man page system basically is broken up into 9 major categories, or 9 major sections, and you can see what they are right here, 1 through 9. 1, as we saw a few moments ago, are the user commands, the executable programs or shell commands that you, the user, typically are coming across. 2, system calls, that's more for the programmers, as well as 3. 4 are special files. Those are the things that are often in that /dev directory that you looked at just a little bit ago. 5 is also going to be interesting to us because those are file formats and conventions. So when we start to look at some special files, some configuration files or user information files on Linux, we may want to look in section 5 of the man system to find out about those file formats. And then 7, 8, and 9, again, are sections that we won't be worried about right now. They're more advanced. Let's space down through and we can learn a little bit about the type of text that you can encounter in a ManPage entry and what those mean. And I mentioned some of these just moments ago about those items that were in the square brackets, meaning that those things are optional. Okay, so here we go. Up here is an example. Any or all arguments within those square brackets are optional. If something is separated by the pipe character, so that vertical line, that means that you use one or the other. So it's an exclusive or condition. The ellipses means that you can repeat this option or argument again and again. And the same holds true for expressions that are within the hard brackets. Sometimes you see bold text and sometimes either italic or underlined, depending on the terminal that you're using and whether it even supports italic or not. And I believe you have a homework assignment or classwork assignment that asks you to discuss these things. So now you know how to find the answers. You use man to find the manual page for the manual system. Okay, and we see that there's an example section in this particular ManPage. So some of the ways that you can use this command in that section, and there's an overview section, and we'll go down through. There's defaults, options, and lots of options. The environment, files, and then the see also section. So you can see the ManPage system had lots more sections than just those ones that were discussed in the PowerPoint here. So as I mentioned previously, those are the core sections, but specific commands will have different sections additional based on the needs of that particular command. We can see that the little help document here also is referring to the 9 default sections of ManPages. So this should sync up with what you saw in the man documentation. The number in the parentheses is the number of the section. So all the plain Jane commands that we are seeing, like LS, PWD, more, less, those all will be in section 1 of the command manual. So more, section 1, okay, user commands. PWD, also section 1. Okay. Now, there is a command named PASSWD. Would we like to know a little bit about that command? Sure, why not? So let's look in the ManPage for PASSWD. It is indeed a command. It's in section 1. It's a way to change the user password. Once we get into the section where we talk about user accounts, we'll start to use this command. You can use it your own self to change your own account's password, but then those with account elevation privileges or super user privileges can be an administrator and change the password for other accounts. But in our Linux system, there is also a file named PASSWD. This file is in the etc directory. So I'm going to change to etc. And there are lots of files in the etc directory, as you can see. But here is one, PASSWD. Okay, this is the user account file. It's going to have lots of information in it. And you can see it flew right off the screen. So there are lots of entries. Near the end of the file, there looks like an entry with my account information in it. And then I have several other accounts that I've added to my system since my account was added. So they're down below. But the point is, this file is an important configuration and management file on our Linux system. It would be nice to know a little about, why it's here and, what to do with it. Well, how do I find the manual page for that file? When I put in man, PASSWD, I get section 1 of the manual. Yeah, that's the default. When you do not supply any information other than the name, the system is going to find the first entry possible. Well, let's go back to man. What do we know? Let's go to the section. Oh, section 5 is the file formats. Knowing that piece of information, I may be able to use the command properly to find the information about the format of the PASSWD file. Okay, so how might I do that? Let's look back at the beginning of the ManPage system, and we may be able to see, and there's a lot of information here, but a section number is one of the optional arguments that I can pass to man. So that is what I'm going to do. Clear the screen. Man 5, PASSWD. And voila, I now have a new section I am seeing in the man system for PASSWD. And that new name is here right in the center, file formats and conventions. And I am told that it is the password file, not the password command. And now I'm told a little bit about that file. It contains one line for each user account, 7 fields delimited or separated by colons, and the names of those files. So what I should be seeing in each of those 7 positions: a login name, a optional encrypted password, but in our system, we're just seeing a placeholder, and then some numerical IDs for the user and the group, a username or comment field, a home directory, and the optional user command interpreter or shell. So let's look at the end of our etc password file. The tail command will show us the last 10 lines in a file. 10 is the default. So let's look again at my account. There's Deborah M. Secondly, there is a placeholder for the password, a numeric user ID, a numeric group ID, and some commentary field, could include a name. Then my home directory and the default command interpreter or shell, which in our Linux Mint system is the bash shell. So there we have some useful information gleaned from the ManPage documentation. You can practice by looking at the ManPage for the cal command, and you'll see that you can get information on the calendar. Let's try that. Cal, 2021, and we'll get a calendar for the year. You could look at a calendar for your month and date of birth. My oldest son was born in March of 1987. So maybe I'd like to find out a little bit about that month and year so that I could find out, what day of the week that he was born on, in case I don't remember. But I wouldn't forget that anyways. So go ahead and play around with man and looking at various commands that you've already sort of got your feet wet with a little bit. There is also an interesting command that you can use called where is. Let's give it a try. Where is ls? So this command lets us know for this command that it was its executable file is in the bin directory, and that there is some compressed documentation file in /user/share/man1, and then this file called ls.1.gz. And you see the same thing on the slide. There's also a way to find any file or directory using a command called locate. And you can read a little bit about it here. Also, remember you can use the ManPage to find out about the command per that documentation. I recommend that you not only go through the PowerPoints, but read through the chapter in the Networking Academy content. The info documentation is just a little different way to present the material. Where ManPages are like, loose leaf documents that are a one-page quick reference, the info command gives you an entire book, let's say, of hierarchically organized documentation on commands within the system. And information is broken down into categories, much like it would be in the table of contents of a book. So let's do info CD. We do CDs becoming, pesky for us. So let's do LS. And you can see that we have a mechanism to go up in this hierarchy structure and go to the next sort of section in the info manual. You can see that LS happens to be in section 10.1, implying that there is like an overarching section 10, and this is the first subsection in that listing. And you can read paragraphs of information about the LS program. So this is more book-like than the single man pages. Again, we can hit the space bar to go down through the page. We can see that we're 57% through this particular section. And now we've moved from section 10.1 to 10.1.1. So another subsection under that. Some people like the info document, some people not so much. Usually you can find what you need in the ManPages, but sometimes, the info document is really the only place with enough detail. So don't forget that it exists, and also go through the rest of the PowerPoint here because it gives you some good information about navigating the pages in the info system, how to go up and back through the system. And here's the basic info command keys. So this is something good to keep as reference. And again, that's good to know. I can hit the shift and the Q to exit the system. Additional help is also available by using the -- help option after the command name. So that gives you real quick access to information. Let's see if I can do it for LS. And there happened to be more than a page's worth of information because LS happens to have lots of options. So that gave me the whole usage and options for that ls command. Also, Bing, Google, your other favorite search engine is always a way that you can find some blogs or third-party information about commands or use of commands together, or how to solve certain problems that come up over and over again. So do not hesitate to use all the resources at your disposal. I hope this little discussion helps to put you on the right path. And I encourage you, use that ManPage system, become familiar with it, and it will save your cookies again and again. Now, one last thing. I said I was done, but I lied. Man has a -K option. K, think of K for keyword. So say you wanted to find some things about encryption. I passed that keyword encrypt. Here's all kinds of commands in all different sections of the ManPage that have anything to do with encrypting. So this is a great way to help you find something to tickle your brain. If you're not quite sure what command to use or what you should use, that's one way that you can put yourself on the right path. There's also another very oft used option to the ManPage system, -F, and you can use as a argument to this a substring or keyword. And what the ManF does is it will find anything that matches in the ManPage based on that substring, and give you the short synopsis about that particular value. So PASSWD is a good example here, because we already learned that there's a command and a file by that same name. We might have forgotten what section the file formats were in, and by using the man-f PASSWD, we have reminded ourselves that in section 5 is the password file. So now we can go on and specify that correctly and find the ManPage for that password file format. All right, so have fun in this section. Learn out all about how you can get documentation. Remind yourself about how commands are used, what options are available, and if you become proficient with using the documentation, you will be very successful navigating the file system.